Welcome to Issues and Answers with your host Diane Kinderwater. Issues and Answers is presented as a public service to inform, educate, and better the lives of New Mexicans. And now, Issues and Answers with your host Diane Kinderwater.
Welcome to the program. I'm Diane Kinderwater. If you're like me and like many of us in New Mexico, you've seen it. You've perhaps even heard it. What am I talking about? An injured animal, an injured bird. You've heard it squeaking, it's squealing, it's chirping. And if you're like me, you may not have known what to do about it. Well, in one case, I had a deer, an injured deer in my side yard, and I called Game and Fish. State Game and Fish weren't too helpful. They said to call the city. I didn't know what to do. Well, now I would know I could call Wildlife Rescue Incorporated of New Mexico. They might not handle large mammals like deer, but they certainly help you know about hummingbirds, birds, reptiles, amphibians, which they're going to tell me what an amphibian is. I forgot what it is since my 6th grade science class. All these certain animals that we have in New Mexico that want a second chance. They're injured, you may not know what to do, but Wildlife Rescue Incorporated of New Mexico does. So they're going to share their knowledge with us today. We're going to look at some beautiful birds as well as they tell us what we can do if we come across an injured friend of ours. Again, we want to give them a second chance. Stay with us as we discuss Wildlife Rescue Incorporated of New Mexico right after this.
Hey America, now there's a place where we can join our voice. Real America's Voice. Real America's Voice is coming to a town near you with a grassroots approach, bringing the real voice of America together. Real America's Voice is growing our family of networks across the country, and soon you could be part of that change. Download the Real America's Voice app and join other Americans just like you across the country, coming together for real change.
We're going to do a 2-part series with Wildlife Rescue Incorporated of New Mexico. Why 2 parts? Because there's so much to talk about, so much to discuss, because there is so much wildlife here in New Mexico. We're the 5th largest state, land mass-wise, and that means we've got a lot of critters roaming around these empty parts of ours in the desert, and even in our backyards. That's where we see those injured birds, I bet, right? Well, thanks for joining us as we discuss Wildlife Rescue Incorporated of New Mexico. Beverly Riley, you are on the board, on the rescue board, and you also are a volunteer for 9 years. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Diane.
And we have one of the founders of Wildlife Rescue Incorporated of New Mexico, Beverly Elliston. She has been with the board since 1981 when you helped found this organization.
That's right. I worked with several other people who were interested in helping injured wildlife at that time, and we're still here.
Why did you get involved back in 1981? What was your driving force on this bit?
Well, I've always been interested in birds, and I found a dead bird lying on the gas station ground and picked it up and looked at it and put it on the
pump? On the pump?
On the pump.
Okay.
And I said, oh, it's a barn swallow. And then the person behind me said, you know what it is? And I said, yes. And we started a conversation. And it turned out her name was Helen Mill, and she had just come from California, where she had been rehabilitating injured birds. So she gave a course at the zoo on raising baby birds properly, and we grew from there.
And started this because you saw the need. Who hasn't? Isn't that true, Beverly? Who hasn't found an injured bird in their backyard?
Oh, everybody finds injured birds everywhere. Their backyard, their sidewalk when they're taking the evening walk, the bosque when they're taking a hike. And Jude mentioned the large landmass that New Mexico covers, but we also cover several different biomes in the state. And that means that we have a lot of different animals and birds all over that you find birds in the bosque that you won't find in the sandias and vice versa. And so it's a unique problem. for people.
Finding all these. Why did you get involved in Wildlife Rescue Incorporated of New Mexico, Beverly?
I started the year before I retired from teaching, and I frequently went to the Rio Grande Nature Center, which is a lovely spot, and I saw this wildlife rescue sign, and I thought, I'm going to check it out. And so I've been there ever since.
We're going to talk, of course, more about the founding of the organization and what you do with compassion. You want to educate, you want to rehabilitate, and you want to release. But to keep our viewers here watching, we're going to have Jim Reed come on over and give us a treat as we're going to look at a gray horned owl that you have. And we want to get the gray horned owl out of the hot lights.
Sure.
So tell me a little bit what Jim is going to be showing us. Penny?
Well, this is a not very large great horned owl, which had an injury, and we tried to repair it, but it didn't properly repair. So this bird, being a very pleasant personality,
Right.
was kept
That's beautiful.
for an education bird. So we got him a permit. Everything has to be permitted one way or another.
Can you get him to face the camera? Is he shot? There.
Through the the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So he has a permit.
So tell us the story. Tell us the story. And come over here, Jim. Come right over here. There we go. Tell us the story of where it was found. Do you know, Beverly?
Jim probably remembers best.
He does.
Where was the bird found, Jim?
The petroglyphs at the bottom of a power pole.
At the bottom of a power pole.
He showed that on his left wing on the power line.
So he doesn't have a microphone, so you'll have to repeat.
He was found at the petroglyphs under a power pole and apparently had run into a power line which damaged his left wing. And you can see a feather a little bit out of position on his left wing.
So what kind of repair did you try to do with this bird?
Putting the wing back together in a usable position. It didn't heal properly.
And how long have you had the bird?
Many years.
11 years.
11
years.
Yep.
What's his
only.
name? What's his name?
Bubo Orgianus.
What?
Bubo virginianus.
Bubo virginianus is the name of
We don't give pet names to these birds. They are not pets. They are wild birds who are tolerating our presence because of their personalities. And this one is a very pleasant personality.
Yeah, it's
But we
not
don't want
moving.
people going away naming this kind of a bird a pet name.
So
His scientific name is Bubo virginianus.
Bubo virginianus. Tell me a little bit about a gray horned owl. They're actually in Albuquerque at the petroglyphs.
They are. They're actually all over town, all over the state. If you take a walk down the bosque, you're likely to see one sitting at the top of a tree. They're at the top of their food chain for the birds. They are very intimidating when they stand there, and they will eat just about anything. They've been known to take down skunks, small dogs, and cats. More likely, they'll get rodents and small birds.
What's he looking at over there? Oh, okay, now we got your attention. He's
Looking for someplace to go to sleep.
Thank you. You can pack him up. Thank you, Jim Reed. Oh, he wants to say something. Look at his mouth is open. He wants water.
That's because he's a little warm. No, he doesn't want water. He's just a little hot. They don't sweat. So if they're going to cool, they have to pant like a dog.
And you have to remember that he's covered in a down jacket, so he gets warm easily.
And he has down leggings also, right down to his feet. His feet are feathered. So this bird lives here in this
Thanks, Jim.
climate all year round.
So this example, if a person comes across a large bird like that, Beverly, what should we do?
If you come across a large bird that's injured and you feel safe obtaining the bird, or you have a towel handy to cover the bird with, then you can wrap it up, put it in a box, bring it to the clinic. If you don't feel safe, you can call us and we'll try to arrange some way to help the person. But generally, we like people to bring those birds to us.
And the first thing is, if you have a towel to cover its face, that relaxes a little bit, Penny?
That's correct. Most of their head is composed of eye sockets. So much of the input that goes into that brain is from the eyes. If you cover the eyes, it's like covering the camera lens. It doesn't get the information, so it's not so stressed.
You are supported 100% by donations and volunteers. Mission has always been to give injured wildlife a second chance in the state of New Mexico. And an annual intake is what, 2,000 different birds and
I think our latest number was something like 2,060.
Yes.
What's going on? Why are animals and birds injured? What's the main cause, would you say?
Well, the primary cause for all wildlife is habitat loss.
Yeah.
But for us, the primary major injury cause is human structure. Power lines, like with the great horned owl. Cars. What else?
Cars, meaning they're zipping down I-25 or Montgomery and Tramway. They're zipping, and the bird runs into the car, or the car runs into the bird.
An owl hunts at night. An owl hunts at night, so it flies across the road at night, and people whizzing down the road with their lights on can blind it, and it will perhaps be hit by the car.
Are we seeing more and more injured animals throughout the years? If you're up to 2,060 and your average is about 2,000, is there an increase, Penny?
I think one thing that we see an increase in is birds and animals coming in because of climate change, because of the drought, lack of water. They certainly still get hit by cars. They still are electrocuted from power lines. That doesn't change, but this summer, for example, we saw many that came in dire straits because of lack of water and heat.
It was hot. It was a hot summer. So give us an example of what happened this summer, Beverly, with it was a distressed bird because of the heat? And a person brought it in or called you to come get it? Tell me a little bit.
Well, for example, we saw a lot of Cooper's hawks this summer.
Cooper's hawks?
Yes. And they're charming little birds when they're young, but they're very flighty. When they're learning to fly, they're considered fledglings, and they might leave the nest. And if the weather were great, it might be okay, but when it's hot and dry and there's no way for it to get anything, there's nothing for the parents to give them, it becomes more difficult. So then we can get them, rehydrate them, and hopefully send them on their way.
Sometimes that means putting them back with their parents, which is always very nice because that means we don't have to teach them how to hunt. And remember that what we've been talking about here are meat eaters. These are all hunters so far. We haven't been talking about finches and doves and robins and goldfinches and all the other species one sees.
We're talking about the hunters.
We're talking about, right now, we're talking about the hunters because the great horned owl is an obligate carnivore. He eats meat. He must have meat. That's what he digests. And that's the same for a Cooper's hawk.
So I'm joking when I say this, though, Penny. How do you teach the hawks and owls to hunt? How do you do that, Penny?
With great difficulty. What I do with the Cooper's hawks is something called hacking. And you let them release into a tree in your backyard or somewhere, and they learn how to hunt, coming back always to the place where they were fed as juveniles. So the person who puts the food there for them acts as a surrogate parent and has to provide food every day just in case the Cooper's hawk comes back looking for a meal.
So you do that at your location, which
That's
is near where you're at the Rio Grande
Nature Center. We don't do that there because there are some resident Cooper's hawks there already managing that territory.
So you don't want them to be confused. You want them to hunt on their own.
That's right. So they go out and practice, and then the better they get at it, the fewer times they come back for our support.
Our great horned owl is also a foster parent, and he will teach the younger owlets to how to eat, how to get around, and
This
that's
particular one?
Yes. He's fostered many little owls over the years.
But where do you locate him?
He's located with a senior handler on the northeast part of town.
Out in the wild?
No, he has.
In a cage?
Yeah.
In a cage. But
He
then you
needs
put
protection because he can't
Can't
fly.
protection from what?
People mostly, but coyotes, other wildlife.
Okay. No, thank you. This is like a science class, I told you, Penny. So he's in a cage north side of the Bosque area, and with other little owls that you find, you put them together, and that's how you know?
Oh,
That's part of it.
Yeah, she said it's part of it.
yes, but we wouldn't put him with him, because he would eat them. He's a meat eater. He'll eat anything that he can find meat on. So, and it doesn't have to be live meat either. He will teach the youngsters that are living with him how to scavenge dead animals that are lying around.
Absolutely. Because we'll feed them quail and rats and mice, and they're frozen that we purchase, and so we'll put it out there, and he'll show them what they need to do.
And people who hunt bring us carcasses of animals that they haven't consumed over the previous year, and they want to turn it over and not keep it for more than a year. So they bring it to us, and we can feed some of our animals those things like ravens and crows and roadrunners, other meat eaters.
Tell us about roadrunners. Tell us about the
roadrunners.
That's nice.
We get a lot of roadrunners. They're the state bird. And we get them from very, very tiny, just hatched out of an egg, to fully adult and have run into cars or been rolled by a car. Or one thing that happens is that roadrunners build their nests very early in the spring. And then along comes, they build the nest and lay eggs in it, and then along comes the farmer who wants to use his farm equipment that they have built the nest in. Well, it's illegal for the farmer to destroy the nest. So he finds us and brings us the eggs, which we incubate and hatch and raise. Then we have a whole family of roadrunners.
So you're smiling,
that
Beverly.
year.
What do you?
We've had some delightful roadrunners this year.
Yeah. And then they get into trouble. They get into all
They
kinds
do.
of trouble.
What do you mean?
Well, their nests aren't going to be super high off the ground. These birds are not the best flyers in the world. You may see them take off, but they don't travel a great distance with flight. They're runners. So their nests are lower to the ground where other animals can reach them more easily, and they can, people don't think about it, but when they take down a bush that has a nest in it or something like that, they are violating the law. You're not supposed to do that, but they do it. And then the roadrunner's out on its own. There may be fledglings in the nest. The bird might get hurt when the shrub is removed. All sorts of things can happen.
What's a fledgling? How old is that? A fledgling just can't fly yet, even though a roadrunner
They're
really
in
doesn't.
the process of learning to fly. They are being encouraged to leave the nest, stretch their wings. We think that flying comes naturally to all of them, but they all have to practice.
Maybe if the roadrunner built its nest higher, it could learn to fly, because that's what we learned. Little babies fly out of the nest, but if it's on the ground, they're going to run. They're not going to be flying.
It's true.
So do roadrunners actually fly?
They do. They fly, and they fly pretty well. And they may build their nest really high, but they also may build them really low.
Yeah.
So they do fly.
They do.
How long does a egg incubate? If they build their nest in the summer, Penny,
About 21 days
that short of a time?
incubation.
Okay.
And then the roadrunner may stay in the nest about 15 days, and then it leaves the nest before it's developed all its feathers, and it gets parked under a bush someplace by its parent. Then the parent will go and feed it during the day while the roadrunner goes around poking around and learning how to live on the ground. Roadrunner parents are very good parents. But cats are also walking around on the ground, and they injure baby roadrunners.
That's when you said they get into a lot of trouble.
They get into
I thought they were
trouble.
like kid trouble, but they're trouble from outsiders. Get
Yes,
them into
predators.
trouble. Predators get them into trouble.
Yeah.
Which birds do you see the most of at the wildlife rescue, Beverly?
Probably doves and pigeons.
Hummingbirds.
Hummingbirds, we do get thousands of that. Not thousands, but we get a lot of hummingbirds.
Wow.
Specifically,
Wow.
a black chim hummingbird is what we see the most of.
Because? Why do you see the most of them?
They're so prevalent in Albuquerque.
This is where they nest. This is the elevation that they nest.
Ah, okay. I see a lot of hummingbirds.
Yeah.
So treating hummingbirds is a little different, Penny, than other birds in terms of rescuing them. If we see an injured, why would a hummingbird be injured? They're so fast.
Well, they do run into things and break their arms and legs, and they do get into fights with each other and damage their bills sometimes.
They're also prone to run into glass, windows, patio doors.
And if a female hummingbird who has a nest gets into trouble, like eaten by a cat or something, the babies die, because the female is the only parent that takes care of the young. So we often get young that are in the nest and are nestlings and have to be fed tiny insects and nectar to raise, because the mother is gone.
It's in the spring always, Beverly, that we see these?
Oddly,
Hummingbird.
no. We'll see them all year long. In fact, I think up to 2 weeks ago, we were still receiving hummingbirds.
So if you find a dead bird, maybe it's the mother, you know where the nest is, what do you suggest people do, Beverly?
If you find a dead adult bird and you know where the nest is at, and you know that there have been babies in the nest, you can bring the nest in its entirety to the clinic, and we have 2 rehabbers that specialize in raising babies and from the ground up until release. And
Do you suggest people put gloves on? Because I thought in the past, do they need gloves to pick up the nest, put it in a cardboard box? What?
I don't think, for a hummingbird, no, I don't think they would need gloves to put it in a box. If they didn't find the adult bird and they found a baby on the ground, they might just want to pick the baby bird up and re-nest it, if they can, safely without falling off a ladder. People think that, oh, it's been touched by a
Yes.
human and the birds won't have anything
That's
to
what-
do with it. It's not true.
But with hummingbirds, I think if the baby is out of the nest, it probably means that the mother is gone, because the only reason a baby would leave the nest, if it can't fly yet, would be because it's desperate and it's trying to find its mother, but of course it's not equipped to do that. It can't do that. but his mother is gone, and that baby is going to die if nobody picks it up and brings it to somebody who knows what they're doing in terms of raising a baby hummingbird.
Wow, we're going to do another show with you because we just touched upon the hawks, the meat eaters, and the pretty little hummingbirds. We have so many other reptiles and amphibians to talk about in the next show. Regarding your volunteers, what kind of commitment do you ask of them, Penny?
Well, really to live up to whatever they promise us that they will do, to show up. And then they learn when they come and learn the kinds of jobs that need to be done, a lot of which is cleaning, of course. And then they graduate up through the years as they get more and more interested in the types of wildlife that come in.
And we have a lot of positions available for volunteers that don't require any special commitment to the birds and animals. We have an extremely active phone team, and they take a lot of calls, particularly from April through September, and they get back with dozens of people a day, and we'll refer them to proper organizations if it's not appropriate for us. We got a call last summer on coyote in the East Mountains who had been injured by someone's trap, and the woman really wanted to help the animal, but she didn't know what to do. So we referred her to an individual that could. We do a lot of that.
A lot of referrals as well.
A lot of referrals.
If you're not able to, but they know to call you. How do they know to call you, Penny?
Through listening to a program such as this, Diane. Thank you so much.
What's the phone number to call, Penny Elliston, Wildlife Rescue
phone
Fund
number to call?
and Rehabilitator?
I'm not sure.
Well, we can look. I found you online easily.
Okay.
Wildlife Rescue Incorporated of New Mexico. That's easy to
Absolutely.
find.
That's right.
So you're going to join us again as we talk about the amphibians, the reptiles, and other things, and what we're able to do. What we're able to do, and again, is to help you, is to contact you and bring the animals and birds to you because you're limited. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank you.
since 1981. Wildlife Rescue Incorporated of New Mexico. Stay with us as we have another program regarding how we can help the animals, our friends out there. Thanks for watching. I'm Diane Kinderwater. Make it a great week with your family. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
The New Mexico Modern Child Support Family Program works to benefit both parents for the purpose of improving children's lives. It provides the basics of child support, but goes further by helping parents step up to find better job opportunities that get them back on track to paying their monthly child support obligation. Find out how the Child Support Step Up program can help your modern family. Contact New Mexico Child Support today to learn more.
Issues and Answers with your host Diane Kinderwater is presented as a public service to inform, educate, and better the lives of New Mexicans. To comment on today's program or to purchase a copy of any Issues and Answers program, visit sunbroadcasting.org or call us at 505-345-1991.